God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program, and we've got a lot of news to get through on this hump day, so here we go. Deep state confirmed? The New York Times today published an op-ed from a person claiming to be a resistance member who works on Trump's team as a, quote, senior official. The rest of the piece doesn't matter because in their rush to publish turmoil within Trump's administration, the New York Times goofed big time in one of two ways. Either the New York Times just confirmed a deep state conspiracy, or they fall for a Jedi Master level of trolling. Now, I know I said that the rest of the story doesn't matter. I'm going to give you the brief synopsis version of it. The author of this op-ed claims to be trying to steer the Trump administration rather than stopping it. At one point he says, quote, "We want the administration to succeed." It becomes obvious later in the piece, however, that this operative operates on behalf of the status quo of politics. Their focus is heavily on foreign policy and international relationships rather than domestic policy, and they invoke Senator McCain's farewell letter. While it might not be the deep state that has been discussed since early last year, the deep state that wants to unseat President Trump, this is the deep state that is this is still an unelected cabal of bureaucrats seeking to undermine the president and his agenda. The second thing that I want to talk about today is Woodward's book. And all that I'm going to say is that how can this guy know everything that he claims to know? Multiple people quoted in this book have already denied their quoted statements. This is the fourth bombshell tell-all book to come out in 1.5 years, and it's not going to scratch its target. For more information on Woodward and his apparently unparalleled career of book writing and investigative journalism, I would direct you to his Wikipedia page. Now, you kind of have to be careful how you find it. There's a lot of criticism listed here, but what you have to do is you have to search Wikipedia for Robert Upshur Woodward. If you search Bob Woodward, you're not going to find this page for whatever reason. You have to search for the man's full name. The next story that I want to talk about concerns the Kavanaugh circus. Confirmation hearing. Geez, English must be difficult today. In today's hearing, Kavanaugh was asked a lot of more questions than he was asked yesterday. He gave many answers that all sound good on paper. The way that I see it, my analysis indicates to me that Kavanaugh places tremendous weight on precedent when deciding cases, perhaps even an undue amount of weight. In particular, his comments on Heller versus D.C. and Roe versus Wade indicate to me that Kavanaugh would be reluctant to overturn precedent under any circumstances. Another thing that happened during the Kavanaugh hearing, this actually happened yesterday, and I just wanted to talk about it today, is that the woman seen in about the center of the frame of this picture has been accused of making the OK sign while crossing her arms. And if you squint and hold your tongue the right way and maybe close one eye and hop up and down on one leg, you might even be able to see it here. Now, it's not even the right OK sign. If you were to try and recreate this symbol, I think you'd have to tuck your pinky finger back behind your index and thumb. And that's not the OK sign. That's something else. That's like when you're trying to make the rabbit shadow puppet, only you're doing it wrong. The OK sign is another occurrence of what I've been calling Poean racialization. The OK sign has nothing to do with race whatsoever. In fact, it's used to communicate that everything is A-OK. It's used by divers to communicate with each other that I'm doing okay, everything's fine over here. Because, of course, you can't use your words to communicate underwater. But 4chan, an internet messaging board, created the OK as a white power symbol hoax last year, and it was debunked as a white power symbol. But many people in the media have just decided that it is now a white power symbol. It's universally a white power symbol, even when somebody might accidentally make this symbol while crossing your arms. I challenge, now, a lot of people have already issued this challenge. I'm going to issue it to you right now. The default way that I've seen people cross their arms, of course, is, they tuck one hand into the elbow of the other arm, and with the other hand, they upwardly tuck it into the elbow of their other arm. So the way that I do it is my right hand gets tucked downward into my left elbow, and my left hand gets tucked upward into my right elbow. It just is the way that I cross my arms. Occasionally I'll cross my arms across my stomach if I'm leaning back and relaxed, and your hand just kind of lays there on your elbow. Try to make this okay sign. Tuck your pinky behind your arm, and I've noticed that it's not all that uncomfortable. It's not necessarily natural, but it's not like I have to force myself to do this. If I were to allow myself, if I were to practice a little bit, this might just be the default way I would cross my arms. So I don't think it necessarily means anything that this woman was making this symbol. Her husband has already come out in her defense, saying that this hand symbol meant nothing. Another thing that happened in regards to the Kavanaugh hearing, I believe this is from today, but it might be from yesterday. Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska delivered what I call a scathing rebuke of Congress, and also a civics lesson regarding their abdication of power. And I want to spend some time reading it today because I think it's fantastic. So all of this is from the Patriot Post. All of this that's in gray and indented a little bit is Senator Sasse's words. The real reason at the end of the day that this institution punts most of its power to executive branch agencies is because it is a convenient way for legislators to be able to avoid taking responsibility for controversial and often unpopular decisions. If people want to get reelected over and over and over again, and that's your highest goal, if your long-term thought around here is about your own incumbency, then actually giving away your power is a pretty good strategy. And also, at the end of the day, a lot of the power delegation that happens from this branch is because the Congress has decided to self-neuter. Now, this is in regards to Congress creating executive agencies and branches to give their power away to. There are several executive branch agencies, and for the sake of not getting it wrong, I'm not going to name any at this time. But there are several executive branch agencies that simply exercise the power that Congress doesn't want to take the effort to exercise itself. It's also more politically expedient to be the guy that's fighting against the executive branch doing something that you would have voted on, but your constituency wouldn't like. Let's read the next outtake here from Sasse's speech. The important thing isn't whether Congress has lame jobs. The important thing is that when Congress neuters itself and gives power to an unaccountable fourth branch of government, it means the people are cut out of the process. So ultimately, when the Congress is neutered, when the administrative state grows, when there is the fourth branch of government, it makes it harder and harder for the concerns of citizens to be represented and articulated by people, that the people know they have the power over. All the power, or almost all the power, right now happens off stage, and that leaves a lot of people wondering, who's looking out for me? So the question we have before us today is not what did Brett Kavanaugh think 11 years ago on some policy matter. The question before us is whether or not he has the temperament and the character to take his policy views and political preferences and put them in a box marked irrelevant and set it aside every morning when he puts on the black robe. The question is, does he have the character and temperament to do that? If you don't think he does, vote no. If you think he does, stop the charades. Because at the end of the day, I think all of us know that Brett Kavanaugh understands that his job is... where did I go? I took my eyes off the page for a second. Brett Kavanaugh understands that his job isn't to rewrite laws as he wishes they were. He understands that he's not being interviewed to be a super legislator. He understands that his job isn't to seek popularity. His job is to be fair and dispassionate. It is not to exercise empathy. It is to follow written laws. And that is entirely the reason why the Democrats don't want Kavanaugh to be on the Supreme Court because they want Supreme Court justices like Sotomayor, like Kagan, like Ginsburg, who are going to do all of those things that Ben Sasse just said a Supreme Court justice's job is not to do. They want a Supreme Court justice to rewrite legislation and the Constitution as it suits the progressive agenda. That's going to lead to the end of that story. And the next story that I want to talk about is another Cortez occurrence. Cortez-like election in a Massachusetts primary. Now, this Massachusetts representative seat that the Democrats are primarying over has been held by Democrats for decades. So they've effectively held the election for the seat. In fact, the victor in this seat, whose name is Ayanna Pressley, will not face a Republican challenger come the midterm election. So she is going to be a representative for Massachusetts. She's been endorsed by Ocasio-Cortez, and her election is very similar to Cortez's. She faced an old white male corporate Democrat, and he was beat out by a young non-white female genuine article socialist. She beat her opponent by nearly the exact same margin as Cortez did in June. And it speaks to more and more Democrat voters wanting to see, as I said, wanting to see people talking about the things they want to see implemented. Now, that's a lot of words to say that a Democrat voter today, especially the socialist ones, want to vote for a socialist. They don't want to vote for a corporate Democrat who's going to say whatever it takes to get elected. They want to vote for a socialist who's going to run on socialism, and they want that socialist to get elected on socialism. These are the kind of people that desperately wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders as president. These are the kind of people that were furious over the fact that Hillary Clinton beat out Bernie Sanders, especially the way in which it seemed like she had the election secured by the corporate apparatus of the Democrat National Committee. I want to read this paragraph from Patriot Post because it is highlighting the similarities between Pressley and Cortez. Pressley didn't just duplicate the Ocasio-Cortez upset by the numbers. She's a socialist in the mold of Bernie Sanders. Indeed, Cortez endorsed Pressley and congratulated her quote-unquote sister in service. She might as well have congratulated her comrade for the win. The party as a whole is shifting significantly left. And they also talk about the race baiting of the Democrat Party. You know, the Democrats have been race baiting for decades. They've been talking about how minorities are underrepresented and there needs to be more minorities in being elected to Congress, and yet the old white people do not step out of the way to allow a young minority to take their place. And so finally, their rhetoric is catching up to them, and incumbent old corporate Democrats who just happen to be white, who never wanted to be beat out by a minority, even though they were talking all of this race-based politics, are now being beat out in primaries by farther left Democrats who have a different color skin than they do. The next story that I want to talk about comes from Politico, and I think that it is Twitter threatening Trump with illegal actions. You may have remembered from, I think it was earlier this year, a federal court ruled that Trump's Twitter account is a public forum. So if it's illegal by that standard for Trump to block someone from his Twitter account, is it not also illegal for Twitter to shut down Trump's Twitter account? If Trump is not allowed to deny a single individual from accessing his Twitter account, then why is Twitter able to close out millions, potentially millions of people from accessing this public forum? After all, if Twitter shuts down Trump's account, is that not effectively Twitter blocking everyone from Trump's Twitter account? I think that a lot of people commented on this at the time that the trial took place, that the federal government was setting an extremely dangerous precedent for private industries by ruling that the president's private Twitter account was a public forum. People were saying, somewhat jokingly, that Milo Yiannopoulos and Sargon of Akkad, two individuals that have been banned from Twitter, to petition to be allowed back onto Twitter because Twitter had prevented them from engaging with the president's Twitter account. And so now it seems like Twitter is forgetting that something happened in federal court in regards to their platform. The last story that I want to talk about comes from a college campus somewhere, probably out on the West Coast. Campus discourages September 11 memorial, citing bias against Muslims. This is from the Washington Examiner. This is from their Red Alert Politics, the right take on campus organization. I assume it's an internal organization. So there's probably some right-leaning bias in this piece, just so you know. According to this piece, the Young Americans Federation, you know what? I was going to try and remember the name of the organization off the top of my head, but let me just scroll down here and find it. Young America's Foundation has been putting on a September 11 memorial across the nation for many years. But only this year, a college campus, Ripon College in Wisconsin, has decided that the school's bias protocol board said the project creates an environment where students from a Muslim background would feel singled out and or harassed. As a result, Ripon students will not be allowed to hang flyers as part of their vigil to remember the victims of September 11th. Now, I want to point out here, Fox News is also is reporting on this story today. The Washington Examiner was reporting yesterday. Fox News reports today that the college claims that they did not ban the poster. The college claims that there was no ban and no discouragement. In fact, a spokesman for the college, Melissa Anderson, told Fox News that the posters were never ruled against or told they violated any bias policy, which doesn't exist. She added, posters don't even need to be pre-approved on campus. The Bias Protocol Board doesn't have any disciplinary authority at Ripon. There would never have been a meeting last Tuesday if local YAF had not requested it. So according to Anderson, even though the campus has a Bias Protocol Board, they don't have a bias policy. According to Anderson, the YAF asked for a meeting with the Bias Protocol Board to talk about this poster. Now, from where I'm sitting, the YAF would not ask for a meeting with the Bias Protocol Board if their poster had not been ruled on. From where I'm sitting, why do you have a Bias Protocol Board if you don't have a bias policy? That seems like an extreme contradiction of terms. I want to read for you some of the statements from the local YAF president. According to the YAF, administrators claimed that one of their objections is because radical Islamic terrorism represents a small percentage of the terrorist attacks that happen to this country, and they don't represent the full gamut. And they show a very small picture of a specific religion or nationality instead of the larger viewpoint. The attempt by Ripon College's Bias Protocol Board to sanitize the truth out of remembering the anniversary of September 11 proves the necessity of YAF. From where I'm sitting, it seems like an organization that is saying this kind of stuff sure, they're not outright banning the poster, but they are certainly heavily discouraging you from publishing the poster. In fact, Anderson said to Fox News, remember that's the spokesman for the spokeswoman for the college. Anderson said the university offered up its student marketing resources to create a new poster. Now, why does YAF need to make a new poster if their poster hasn't been ruled against? Why does YAF need to make a new poster if their poster doesn't violate a non-existent bias policy? Why would Ripon College issue these tweets if what I just told you from Anderson is true? Ripon Colleges encourages an environment for free speech and civil dialogue on our campus. The YAF posters are not and have never been banned. After receiving complaints from our students about the YAF Islamic extremism posters last year, college officials gave the Ripon College YAF student representatives suggestions as to how to have a discussion about 9/11 this year with our entire campus and community. Why would you need to do that if there is no bias policy? Why would you need to do this if you have no problem with the posters? It just seems to me like the college is trying to have their cake and eat it too, as far as free speech and not offend and social justice goes. It seems to me like the college realizes that they've been caught in what's going to be a highly unpopular move, and that is trying to sanitize the perception or remembrance of 9/11. Just in case you have forgotten, 9/11 was the deadliest terror attack carried out against American citizens ever. It killed nearly 3,000 American citizens in a single day. Some of those American citizens were of all different kinds of backgrounds. Some of those American citizens were undoubtedly Muslim. So it has nothing to do with Islam. It has everything to do with carrying out attacks against American citizens. The poster, I believe that the poster can be seen in this column from the Washington Examiner, and I think this is it. I don't think that I can zoom out any, but there you have it. That's the poster. It shows different examples of terrorism attacks that have injured and killed people. It's U.S. ambassador murdered, 3,000 civilians murdered, diplomats held hostage. It just so happens that a lot of these events were carried out or orchestrated by people of Arab background, people of the Muslim religion. It seems unnecessarily unpatriotic for a college campus to try and sanitize this event, to try and sanitize the memorializing of this event. Maybe it's just because I'm not a progressive, but I don't understand why an American college would feel the need to go through this kind of rigmarole when it comes to remembering American citizens that were killed in a terrorist attack. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I would love to hear your input and be able to respond. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss future videos. I hope that you'll come back and join me next time. Don't forget to check back here every weekday for a new report, because you never know what's going on as far as the YouTube algorithm shenanigans. Thanks again so much for watching. Come back and join me next time. Until then, good night and God bless.